Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel, and we have some breaking news tonight. ABC suspends Jimmy Kimmel's late night show indefinitely over his remarks about Charlie Kirk's death. Now, this is how I wanted to lead the article for you guys here, but this was not the lead article that I wanted to start with. I wanted to come over here and show you guys from Ground News, the biased distribution right now. As this is breaking, it is mostly covered by what is considered left media, which is a majority of many of the medias here in the United States. But as of right now, you can see some of the various different media outlets that are covering this. As of now, of course, I anticipate there will be more coverage as the evening goes on. But I want to start it off with the Huffington and Puffington Post. ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel live over Charlie Kirk's comments. The move comes after Nexstar said it would stop airing Kimmel's show on its ABC affiliates. So we have ABC is yanking Jimmy Kimmel's Late Show off the air indefinitely in the wake of comments he made about Charlie Kirk's killing, according to a network spokesperson. Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely, the spokesperson told Huffington Post in a statement Wednesday. On Monday's show, Kimmel criticized the response to the killing from people on the right, a statement that's drawn the ire of conservatives and threats of penalties from FCC Chair Brenda Carr. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize the kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it, Kimmel said. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. Earlier on Wednesday, while speaking in an interview with YouTuber Benny Johnson, Carr suggested that ABC and Disney should take action over Kimmel's comments and added that the FCC could penalize individual broadcasters that air the late-night program, and here's why. Ready? The FCC can impose fines and review the licenses of individual broadcasters if the agencies believe they aren't operating in the public interest, Carr said. And this is very important and very critical to say, or to know, because this is why the media plays the game with the Democrats and gets along with the Democrats. Because when the Democrats are in office, guess what? They control the FCC. So they always have to be in good standing with the FCC and with the Democrats, particularly because, of course, they dangle this over their head. And now they know that Donald Trump, of course, is now in office, but more specifically that he has won a defamation lawsuit against ABC in the amount of $16 million. He sued ABC and George Stephanopoulos for lying intentionally, because we say here on the BuzWeaver channel, because we take the difficult, we take the complicated, we take the tumult, we take the confusion, and we break it down into very simple language so everyone can understand the framing that the media uses to get its narratives out there. And, of course, they suggested that Donald Trump did something beyond what was outlined in the court documents against 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐿. So that was why he was successfully able to sue and win against ABC. It was settled out of court, I should say, to be more specific. And then, of course, he had the issue of suing CBS for intentionally altering and editing the interview with Kamala Harris. So these media outlets are on notice, and Trump could go, as Carr was saying, they could go as far as fining them and even pulling their licenses. I don't see the pulling of the license happening, but it's there. But I wanted to explain to you guys why the media always aligns itself so cozily with the Democrats or with the FCC because it's power over them. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And some additional notation here. Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse, and we do not believe they reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of the local communities in which we are located, said Andrew Alford, president of Nexstar's broadcasting division. And, of course, we already know the people that are being fired or suspended or being fined at their places of work and their places of business or in their companies or like the medical doctors and lawyers and media people and outlet people and others are all facing the ire, as they said there earlier, of this situation. And we'll talk about that further here in a moment. Well, actually, let me just jump to it right now to emphasize this even more. And I agree with what Breitbart says 100%. If you celebrate the assassination of a political opponent, You are unfit for any role of trust, not with children, not in healthcare, not in government, not anywhere. This isn't cancel culture. It's self-defense. A nation that empowers the deranged and the depraved is a nation marching towards ruin. Now, how many times have we talked about this here on the BuzWeaver channel? Make sure you hit that like button because you do remember, I'm sure, because you guys are shrewd, you guys are aware, and you come here for at least the best information as the way I can present it in the framing of how the media does this. And this is so critically important to remember this because as we go to our next area here, and boy, I tell you, these outlets with the way they do their video is just annoying. But nonetheless, here we have this is a news station, ABC 10 out of Sacramento, California. And this is a quote from Newsom, censoring you in real time. Newsom comments after ABC suspends Kimmel indefinitely after Kirk remarks. There is at no point, ladies and gentlemen, that the Democrats or the media will ever give Donald Trump or the administration or situations involving individuals who are part of conservatives or the right or others, any level of credit, any level of decency or understanding whatsoever. They immediately have to pander to their constituents, to their ilk, to, of course, ensure that their ilk, the rioters and the activists and the criminals, don't go after them. So here we have from Fox News. Now we're moving from the left over to the right, as it were, as defined by Ground News. And we see here, Disney says Jimmy Kimmel's show will be preempted, as we already know all this. So let's give a listen to what Fox had to say here.
And just in the past few minutes, Nexstar, the owner of dozens of ABC affiliate stations across the country, said they will not air Jimmy Kimmel Live, quote, for the foreseeable future, based on his monologue in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Well, Brett, if there are two House members that want to make this about themselves, it's Ilhan Omar and Nancy Mace. I have said across this channel, I wrote an op-ed for Fox Digital that was published yesterday. We've got to tone down the rhetoric, obviously. I think folks on the left have to understand that this is following, obviously, the brutal assassination attempts on the former president, now current president, and, of course, Charlie Kirk, who I spent a lot of time on this network debating. And David Spunch has talked about statistics in terms of these studies with right-wing fueled or left-wing fueled attacks in this country. And I think what we need to do as the left, right, as a representative of the left, is acknowledge the pain and the hurt that many on the right are feeling, and not just say, okay, well, what about the House Speaker in Minnesota as an excuse, or Paul Pelosi? These also horrific attacks on people's lives and livelihoods, but understand the pain and the hurt to try and move past this situation.
Well said.
Yeah, and when it comes to Hartman, right, when the brutal murder of her and her husband there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there was no one on the right celebrating. No one on the right was fired for celebrating her death. What people were talking about was the fact that the person who murdered her and her husband was appointed by the previous governor of Minnesota and then endorsed and promoted or rehired or extended the hiring by Tim Walz, another Democrat governor of the same state. So that's what we were talking about. We talked about it here on the BuzWeaver channel. At no time during the BuzWeaver channel did we take any satisfaction out of the fact that this happened to her. Our focus and concern was, how did this individual do this? Why was he perpetrating this? Of course, he had the No King's Day flyers in his car. And the biggest question we had was, who is he? What is he doing? And why was he doing it? And all the research that we conducted, or people conducted, and we showed it here on the BuzWeaver channel, was that he was previously hired by the previous Democrat governor, followed by the Democrat governor, Tim Walz. So I don't know how they're trying to connect dots and make associations to him being MAGA or a Trump supporter. It makes no sense whatsoever. And of course, we already have all the evidence already based upon what we're seeing released now that there by no means was Tyler Robinson, the assassin of Charlie Kirk, even remotely related to or aligned with Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, from the text that ABC we talked about yesterday, ABC swooned over his beautiful, loving messages. He's an assassin. He's an assassin who didn't like what Charlie Kirk had to say. The left don't like what the right has to say. The left doesn't like what anyone says that doesn't align with them. So, and here's how CNN covered it.
Off the air indefinitely. This follows a controversy over comments the late night comedian made Monday night about Charlie Kirk's suspected killer and the MAGA movement and their reaction to the assassination. Let's get straight to CNN's chief media affairs correspondent, Brian Stelter. Brian, what is going on?
That's right. This is fast developing this afternoon, Jake, amid pressure from the Trump-aligned FCC. And in the past few minutes, ABC confirmed to CNN that Kimmel's show will be off the air, quote, indefinitely. We have not yet heard from Kimmel or his representatives. That's how quickly this has been developing. But let's back up and look at what Kimmel actually said on the program that has caused controversy. This is from Monday night in his Monday evening monologue. Kimmel suggested that the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk might have been a pro-Trump Republican. He said, quote, the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. He said in between the finger pointing, there was grieving. Kimmel was expressing what we've heard some other...
Okay, so we have that clip there. And if you want to hear it directly from Jimmy, I'll play it here. It's only a few seconds.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flag.
Now, see, then he goes off and tries to make disparaging comments about Donald Trump. But some of these individuals, as you saw, Brooklyn Dad and Joe and others on the left, they at least acknowledged that they did not appreciate or they took no satisfaction from the fact that Charlie Kirk died. They disagreed with him. They didn't like him. And now, of course, now they're coming out. They're changing their tunes, realizing that there's no defense for them on the left. And as the gentleman was saying there on Fox News, the Democrat there was saying that, you know, there's a couple things I want to say about it. He's correct in the fact that the Democrats need to really be aware of what they're saying because, remember, Joe Biden came out and said Donald Trump was a threat to our country. He's a threat to the very soul of our nation and, all these things. And then 13 days later, we had the attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. And so where at that point we heard some of them, we heard the president and we heard Kamala Harris come out and say, we need to lower the temperature. We need to lower the temperature. Well, you need to stop calling him all sorts of names that you've always done and continue to do as of now. As a matter of fact, it was Pritzker who denied saying that he called Trump a Nazi when in fact he did. So that was going around right now. And then, of course, them finger pointing and all this stuff was going on over the weekend from Brooklyn Dad, from Joe, and from others trying to not make it about this individual being on the left, which he was, which is, again, as we said yesterday, just because someone's gay or trans does not necessarily mean that they are on the left or that they're even a Democrat. So I wanted to make that very distinctive yesterday, and even today I will obviously reiterate that. But the thing is, the left says that Donald Trump says this, says that, and the other, and they call him a liar, and he can't be believed, right? But then they say, oh, he needs to come out and say we need to lower the temperature. Now, I'm saying that from what was being said there on Fox News. And so they call Trump a liar. They say he can't be trusted. Anything he says is a lie, yet they want him to come out and specifically say you need to lower the temperature. How is that? That seems like a completely self-defeating statement. You don't agree with a man. You don't believe anything he says. But if he comes out and says this, if he comes out and does that, if he comes out and does ABC, XYZ, then okay, maybe we'll listen. They won't, right? You can't apologize to these people. You can't appease these people. You can't engage in any meaningful dialogue with these individual people because even when you start to break through some of what you're break down or refute a lot of the things they say, they move on to something else and they continue on with this dribble. Like all these people that were in this delay mode. We were talking about what was going on, and they delayed, knowing exactly that this person who we're learning even more about now was, in fact, a leftist, or at least radicalized by leftists, I should say more specifically, and that he had a relationship with an individual that he was under the impression that he needed to defend. So there's no mystery here that's going on. Then, of course, across the board, we see here from libs of TikTok, holy crap, we did it. It's not the way I would have necessarily phrased it. because I don't want this to be about poaching individual people. But we also heard from Stephen Miller yesterday when J.D. Vance was doing Charlie Kirk's show about how Stephen Miller was saying that he had just received a text shortly before Charlie was killed that, you know, they need to address those individuals on the left that are stoking and inciting this type of violence. Now, if you follow me on across social media, I am going to be making an image a little bit later that will be posted showing the vigil that was held for Charlie Kirk versus the George Floyd riots, right? Because they continually say that, oh my gosh, you know, Donald Trump presents a danger, MAGA this, MAGA that. But at what point, as I made another meme as well, at what point, even in the deep red capital cities, did we ever see any violence whatsoever? There was no protesting. There was no defacing of buildings. There was no fighting against police officers. There was no fire bombs. There was no Molotov cocktails being thrown, frozen water bottles being thrown at police officers, people blocking the highways, blocking the streets. There was no autonomous zones being set up. None of that happened when Charlie Kirk died. None of it. Then, of course, now we see Tim Pool is now live on a show. Well, it might be over now, but his says Timcast in real life IRL show. They were talking about this also, and then, of course, additional videos and others, and then people coming and talking about it right now. Of course, this is continuing breaking information, so we're probably going to be hearing a lot more. And this is the Benny Johnson show when he was interviewing the FCC chair Carr here. So at any time, you guys can always pause these things or go to X if you have X and go by there and check these things out. And then, of course, we have Republicans against Trump. These are all the naysayers and some of the things they're saying. Not a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I'm surprised by that. But if you think this show should be canceled for this, you're a hack. Well, the thing is, as we just read from Breitbart, you know, and, of course, here we have Mayra, who is obviously still doing what she can. She's completely avoiding everything about Tyler Robinson now and is going straight for what's going on in the UK. But all these things that they were trying to say about Donald Trump breaking protocol and that and the other was wrong. As a matter of fact, I just pulled up an image of the protocol here. As a matter of fact, I still have it here on my desktop here. You see the inspection process. The visiting dignitary leads the inspection, walking ahead of the king and other hosts. This is a key element of protocol. The guest takes precedence during this part of the ceremony as a mark of respect, with the monarch following a few steps behind. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it only takes a second to just see what someone says on the left and say, okay, let me see what they're talking about. You can Google it. You can use AI. We have all these amazing resources now that allow us to find this information and at least try to corroborate and put things together before you start saying things that's going to embarrass you. But the left doesn't care, right? All they want to do is get their knee-jerk reaction. They want to get that emotional tug, that emotional pull out of whatever they can. And these situations where these individuals are, you know, still mocking Charlie Kirk's death, and the individuals out there, they even made like the little 3D printed doll of Kirk being shot and falling back in his chair and all these reprehensible things. I'm sure maybe some of you have probably already seen these things. But it's absolutely extraordinary what we're experiencing in our country. And the fact that it is at this heightened level is an example of what happened, as we talk about here on the channel, of how the left was propped up by the establishment uniparty and the Democrats, who hijacked our culture, hijacked our institutions, and hijacked our justice system. You guys have heard me say that a million times, and you probably would like $1 for every time I've said it, but now you clearly understand it. So like I said, or have said, in this video, be sure you like and you share it with individuals so that they can see what is happening. This is not cancel culture. This is addressing a systemic problem by the left, who glorify these actions because they're just insufferable, miserable malcontents who will do anything to get their way or express their anger. And this is why, as I say many times, the Democrats have to appease them. This is why you see these Senate committee hearings like we just saw with Kash Patel, right? It is because they need to be seen as going against Trump. They need to be seen resisting Trump in every way because they don't want these lunatics going after them. It's really that simple. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank all of you for your continued support here on the BuzWeaver channel. across New Tech. That's BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey for your guys' continued support. It's been an amazing 2025. Thank you so very much for sticking it out there. I've been trying to get content out to you guys. I think that you guys deserve more content and quality content, and I'm doing my best to do that, but it is very hectic with ordinary everyday life that we have to deal with, as you guys know. But this was a breaking story that I wanted to get out to you guys, so it should be out, as of this recording now. It's 8:56, so I'm going to let it sit and stew and, well, not stew, but I'll let it sit and get all of the processing done by YouTube, which is another reason why some of these videos may seem to be coming out at different times, is because I am letting them process more. So unlike breaking news like I'm doing now, this will be released today, but I did do a story today on the officers in Pennsylvania, but that's not going to be out till tomorrow. So, but nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for your continued support across BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and of course, everyone here on YouTube. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to, and of course, Amazon and VPN, that would be Trust Zone, my affiliates. You guys can check those out. And if you do order frequently from Amazon or are a Prime member, by all means use my landing page links. It's safe to use, and safety online is very important, which is why I use Trust Zone down there as my virtual private network. But of course, helping out the channel is as simple, ladies and gentlemen, as hitting that like button and sharing the content and commenting. All these things help out the channel. You can just drop down there and say hello, or you can use an emoji. Everything helps out the channel because of the satisfaction algorithm that YouTube now uses. But nonetheless, I'm waxing on, ladies and gentlemen. Appearing there on the screen, that'd be the channel icon. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, you guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notification. That way you know when there is content here on the YouTube channel as others. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.